The announcement happened on Sunday during dinner. My brother Marcus stood at the head of the table, holding his iPad. He was smiling so wide it looked like he had solved the biggest problem in the whole world. Behind him, my parents were smiling too. They always looked proud of Marcus, the perfect child, who could do no wrong. I guess they thought he was smart, responsible, and always right. "I've taken care of your little problem," Marcus said, turning the iPad toward me. I looked down at the screen. On it were 6 houses that I knew very well. These were my houses. I had bought them, fixed them up, rented them out, and worked hard to make them a little money for my family and me. But now there they were listed for sale online with prices that made my stomach drop. Marcus had listed them very low, so that they would sell fast. "The total asking price is $2.1 million, Marcus said with a big grin. "They'll be gone by the end of the month." My mom clapped her hands together. "Finally! Someone in the family who has business sense," she said. My dad nodded and pulled out his phone to calculate. "If we split it 6 ways, that's $350,000 each." "I've been looking at that boat," he said, smiling. "But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it?" My sister Eloan leaned over Marcus's shoulder. "The commission alone will pay off my credit card debt," she said. I just sat there at the table, fork in hand, staring at the mashed potatoes I hadn't even tasted yet. I watched my family divide money that didn't exist from houses they didn't even own. The walls of the dining room suddenly felt very close, and it reminded me of a feeling I'd had as a child. Feeling like I was completely misunderstood and nobody cared about what I was really doing. "Marcus," I said quietly, trying not to make a scene, "those houses aren't for sale." Marcus waved his hand like it didn't matter. "Someone has to make the adult decisions here," he said. "You've been pretending to be a real estate investor for 7 years and barely made any money. It's time to stop and move on with your life." I thought about the last 7 years of my life. I had been working so hard, trying to get my family's approval, thinking that if I just did enough, they would finally be proud of me. But it never worked. I remembered the gambler's fallacy. That is, when people think if they try enough times, success will come just because they keep trying. I had been playing that game with my family. Every new house I bought, every tenant I signed, every improvement I made, I thought, maybe this time they'll notice. House 1. I thought maybe I would finally get lucky. House 2, I thought, maybe this one will show I'm good. But House 6, I realized they didn't care about my success at all. They didn't want to know about it. What they didn't know, and what they never asked, was that these 6 houses were actually working very well. After paying mortgages, taxes, insurance, and money for repairs, I was making $11,400 every month. That meant I was clearing $4,200 every month in real money. That was $50,000 every year that I didn't have to work for. And the houses themselves had increased in value by $680,000 since I bought them. I had learned a long time ago that explaining my success to people who only wanted to see me fail was like trying to explain colors to someone who thinks the world is only black and white. "The listings go live tomorrow," Marcus announced. "First showings are Tuesday morning. I've already hired a realtor, Vespera, from my gym. She's giving us a discount because it's family." Tuesday morning came. It was very cold in Michigan, the kind of cold that makes car doors stick and your breath turn into little clouds that float in the air. I was sitting at my desk, checking the lease renewals for my tenants, when my phone started vibrating. One by one, my tenants called me. "Property 1 Riverside Duplex," one tenant said. "Cylindra Chin, there's a woman with a realtor lockbox trying to get into my apartment." I didn't say yes to any showings. "Property 2 Oakmont Townhouse," another tenant said. "Someone is in my backyard taking pictures. Should I call the police?" "Property 3 Heritage Street Fourplex," another called. 8 people are walking through my building. Nobody told me this was happening." "Property 4 Maple Grove Condo," another tenant said. "Your brother told a couple they could see the unit whenever they want." "I work nights. I was sleeping. This isn't okay." "Property 5 Lakeside Bungalow," another tenant said. "The police are here. Someone tried to enter without permission. Do you know anything about this?" "Property 6 Downtown Loft," the last tenant said. "I'm an attorney. What your brother is doing is criminal trespassing. I'm documenting everything." I opened Zillow on my laptop. There they were, the 6 houses, all listed for sale with professional photos. Marcus had spent money to make this plan look real. Each listing said the seller was motivated, the price was low, and the houses were empty, even though my tenants were still living in them. I called my property lawyer, Caius Arden, who I had kept on retainer since I bought the second property. His voice was sharp and alert, even though it was early in the morning. "Don't go to any of the properties yourself," Caius said. "Call the police. Your tenants have the right to report trespassing. Take pictures, screenshots, and keep all phone logs. We will need all of this as evidence." The police reports came in throughout the day. Each house became a small disaster for Marcus's real estate plans. Property 1. The police warned the realtor, and the showing was canceled. Property 2. The realtor was fined $500 for trespassing. Property 3. Marcus got arrested when he arrived to try to smooth things over with the tenant, a retired police officer who did not want strangers photographing his bedroom. Bail was set at $15,000. Property 4. The prospective buyers filed a complaint with the real estate board about a fraudulent listing. Property 5. The tenant retained an attorney and got a restraining order against Marcus and Vespera. Property 6. The tenant's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter within 4 hours, threatening a civil lawsuit. Marcus called me from jail at 3:47 p.m. I let it go to voicemail and listened to it 3 times. Each time, his voice sounded more panicked. "This is crazy. I was trying to help. The tenant at Heritage Street is a lunatic. Dad will bail me out, but you need to call off your tenants. They're ruining everything. We had real buyers. Do you know how hard Vespera worked?" I saved the voicemail. Then I called Caius. "We proceed with full legal action," he said. "The ghost ledger is not a normal spreadsheet. It doesn't show money. It shows the emotional cost of trying for 7 years to get my family's approval." 7 years ago, at a family barbecue, Marcus announced his new sales job. Everyone was excited. I told my parents I was buying my first duplex. My mom said real estate is for people with money. "Sweetie, focus on finding a stable job." I felt like my confidence had disappeared. 5 years ago, at Christmas, Marcus bought my parents a cruise with his bonus. I showed them that my third property had positive cash flow. My dad looked at the numbers and said, "Call us when you own something real." I felt like validation was gone forever. 3 years ago, at my sister's wedding, Marcus gave a toast about family success, talking about his promotion, my sister's boutique, and my parents' retirement fund. He did not mention me. I sat at the kids' table, even though I was 32. I felt like I didn't belong. 18 months ago, at Thanksgiving, I arrived late from an emergency maintenance call, a burst pipe at Lakeside Bungalow. Marcus still played landlord. He asked, "When are you going to get a real career?" I showed him my LLC's annual statement, showing $48,000 in net income. He glanced at it for 3 seconds and said, "Anyone can make money look good on paper." I created a spreadsheet that night called the Ghost Ledger. It counted not just missed moments, but also the emotional investment that paid negative returns. The total wasn't in dollars. It was in years of my life spent believing that their approval would finally come if I just achieved enough. The legal process started with careful precision, protecting property rights. Step 1. Evidence collection, February 15th to 18th. I organized everything into manila folders, 1 per property. Police reports, tenant statements, screenshots of Zillow listings with timestamps, phone logs showing tenant calls, and photos of Marcus and Vespera conducting unauthorized showings. Maricela, Caius's assistant, spent 6 hours creating a timeline document showing every action, every statement, and every breach of my property rights. Step 2. Criminal prosecution, February 19th to March 8th. The county prosecutor reviewed Marcus's case. Assistant DA Salindra Fay called me. "Salindra Chin, your brother's case is straightforward. He committed criminal trespass at 6 separate properties. The fact that he believed he had authority is irrelevant. Property ownership is a matter of public record. Does he have any history of this behavior?" I thought about 7 years of boundary violations. "Define this behavior," I said. She laughed, sharp and knowing. "We'll proceed with prosecution." 3 counts of criminal trespass went forward. Each count could result in up to 93 days in jail and a $1,000 fine in Michigan. Marcus hired a defense attorney, Lucian Vale, who cost $8,500 in retainer fees. My mother called, asking if I would contribute, saying, "This is really your fault." I declined. Step 3. Civil lawsuit, March 1st to 15th. Caius filed a civil lawsuit against Marcus, Vespera, the realtor, and my parents as co-conspirators. The complaint included attempted conversion of property, 6 counts. Interference with tenant rights, 6 counts. Fraud, misrepresenting ownership, Conspiracy, including the family dinner where the sale was planned with witnesses. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Damages sought were $180,000, plus tenant relocation costs, legal fees, lost rental income during tenant disruption, and punitive damages. Every part of this process took careful time and attention. Evidence had to be organized. Police reports had to be filed. Tenants had to testify. Every unauthorized action Marcus took had to be recorded and documented. I realized that property ownership isn't just about money. It's about rights, responsibilities, and respect. Marcus thought he could just take over my properties because he wanted to make a quick profit. But he learned the hard way that there are rules, laws, and consequences. Through all of this, I felt a strange mixture of relief, sadness, and pride. I had worked so hard for 7 years, and now, finally, the system recognized the truth. My houses were mine, my tenants were protected, and my family's misunderstanding could not erase my success. It was a long, hard week. But when the dust settled, Marcus had learned a lesson about boundaries, honesty, and respecting other people's work. My tenants were safe. My houses were secure. And my ghost ledger, though heavy with lost years and emotional cost, reminded me that even though my family didn't always understand, I had built something real. I learned that sometimes, the people who are supposed to support you the most can misunderstand or even try to take advantage of you. But with careful planning, rules, and people who know the law, you can protect what you've worked for. And sometimes the best reward is knowing that you stayed true to yourself, even when others didn't believe in you. Marcus' lawyer asked the judge to stop the case. He said Marcus thought he was helping me take care of my properties because he thought I could not manage money well. Marcus' lawyer even showed a paper from my mom that said I had always been bad with money. But Judge Seraphine Quill did not agree. She said no. She explained that what Marcus or my parents thought about me did not change the law. The law clearly said I owned all 6 properties by myself. The motion to dismiss the case was denied. Step 4 was called discovery, and it happened from March 15th to April 30th. During discovery, Caius, my lawyer, asked for all messages between my family about my properties. My parents' lawyer tried to block it, saying the messages were private. But Judge Quill ordered them to share all the messages. When the emails came, they showed 3 years of messages. I read them slowly, line by line. Marcus wrote to Mom, "She's going to lose everything. We should plan an intervention." Dad wrote to Marcus, "Talk to your lawyer friend. If she is found not able to handle money, our family can ask for control." Eloan wrote to the family chat, "When this rental thing fails, we should make sure she doesn't drag us down." And Mom wrote to everyone, "Maybe if the properties were sold, she'd finally settle down and find a husband." I read all of these emails in Caius's conference room. The afternoon sunlight made sharp lines across the big wooden table. Maricela brought me coffee. She didn't say a word. She just squeezed my shoulder like she understood everything. I looked at the messages and remembered the first moment I knew I had to rely on no one. That moment happened in my father's living room in 2017. I had just gotten the money to buy my first duplex. I was proud of myself and excited for the future. But Dad looked at me and said, "Real estate investing is for people with family money to fall back on. You don't have that safety net. You're going to fail, and we can't bail you out." I remember everything from that moment, the texture of the carpet under my fingers, the way the sunlight reflected on his reading glasses, and the way his voice sounded final, like nothing I could say would change it. That was the moment I realized I could not rely on anyone in my family for help. Their approval wasn't coming. I had 2 choices. I could collapse under their expectations, or I could build something so strong and undeniable that they would have to face the truth. I chose to build fortresses. Step 5 was the mediation attempt. On May 15th, the court ordered mediation. A retired judge, Corvin Estelle, was the mediator. He had seen almost everything twice before, so I knew he would be fair. Marcus' lawyer spoke first. "My client acted out of genuine concern for his sister's welfare," he said. Caius, my lawyer, stood up and showed the ghost ledger, property valuations, rental income statements, and calculations of equity. He said, "Cylindra Chin owns 6 properties worth $2.78 million, with $2.1 million in equity. She generates $50,000 a year in passive income." Define overwhelmed. My mother tried to speak for feelings. "We are family. Can't we work this out?" I spoke for the first time in 6 hours. I said slowly, "You plan to steal $2.1 million from me, and you're asking about family?" There was silence. Long enough to hear the clock ticking. 17 seconds. Mediation failed. No one could deny the facts. No one could deny my ownership. Step 6 was the trial. The trial was scheduled for June 20th to 22nd. The criminal trial came first. Prosecutor Fay presented video footage from Property 3. Marcus was letting himself and 4 prospective buyers into the property while the tenant, Daxian Crow, a retired police officer, watched from his window and called 911. Marcus testified, "I thought I was helping my sister. She's overwhelmed." Winter showed the jury my property management spreadsheets, maintenance logs, and financial statements. He asked, "Does this look like someone overwhelmed?" Tenant after tenant testified. Mrs. Patterson from Lakeside Bungalow explained that I called her personally about the showing and apologized for any inconvenience. I even reduced her rent that month to make up for it. This was not the behavior of someone who was bad with money or overwhelmed. The verdict was clear. Marcus was found guilty on all 3 counts. He was sentenced to 180 days in jail, with 90 days suspended. He also got 3 years of probation, $3,000 in fines, $8,400 in restitution to tenants, and 200 hours of community service. Next came the civil trial in August. My parents' attorney argued that they had only talked about selling the properties and never actually participated in any plan. But Caius presented the email chains, the dinner where they calculated their shares, and even my mother's phone call to Vespera, the realtor, where she set up the first consultation. Judge Quill's ruling was surgical and precise. The court found that my parents and Marcus had engaged in a conspiracy to try to steal my properties. The court said that even though their plan failed, it still showed that they intended to do something wrong. Judgment for me: $180,000 plus legal fees of $47,000. Step 7 was collection, from August to December. My parents' lawyer tried to file for bankruptcy protection. Caius objected. The court agreed with Caius. Fraud-based debts cannot be erased in bankruptcy. Their house went into foreclosure. On October 3rd, the boat Dad bought, thinking he would get $350,000 from the sale, was repossessed by the marina. Marcus lost his sales job because of the felony conviction. Eloan's boutique closed after the local press reported the story. Vespera, the realtor, lost her license because she had been careless and failed to verify ownership before listing the properties. Step 8 was appeals, which happened in January. Marcus' appeal argued that the jury was not instructed properly. The Michigan Court of Appeals took 45 days and issued a 2-page denial. They said Marcus' appeal lacked merit. The court confirmed that the trial court properly instructed the jury on the criminal trespass elements. The appeals from my parents about excessive damages were also denied. The court said the trial court had correctly calculated damages based on actual losses, tenant disruption, and emotional distress. All loopholes were closed. 6 months later, I stood at the Heritage Street fourplex. The fresh paint was drying on the walls. Tenant Daxian Crow was moving out because he was relocating to Arizona for retirement. He handed me the keys and said kindly, "You handled that well." Most landlords would have blamed the tenants for causing trouble, but I protected them. I had even reduced everyone's rent for 3 months after the incident, even though I didn't have to. The restraining orders against my family remained permanent. I blocked all family numbers, emails, and social media. I changed my address. Property 7 had closed escrow in November. It was a small commercial building downtown. Property 8 was under contract. All 6 original properties were fully occupied, rents paid on time, and maintenance reserves fully funded. The Ghost Ledger's final entry was dated February 14, 2024. My family's plan to steal $2.1 million from me revealed their true character. The value of that lesson was priceless. I had paid 7 years of hope, hard work, and focus. They had paid for everything: money, reputation, and freedom. Revenge is not about anger or hurting others. It is about surviving. It is about building something so strong that those who doubted you are forced to watch from the outside, forever excluded from what they tried to steal. I had 6 fortresses I fought to protect, and I built 2 more since then. My future was beginning. There was no family to sabotage it. There was no approval I needed to chase. There were just the properties, the tenants, and the compound interest of investing in myself. The account was closed. The balance was 0, and I was finally free. I walked through each property and remembered every small struggle that led to this moment. I remembered signing the first mortgage, calculating every payment, and worrying about each repair. I remembered talking to tenants, learning to fix problems myself, and spending nights awake making sure everything ran smoothly. Every little challenge built me stronger. Every hard day was a brick in the fortress I had created. Even though my parents and siblings had tried to tear me down, I had not just survived. I had grown. Every property I bought, every rental I managed, every tenant I helped. It was proof that I could succeed without anyone's help. My work, my care, and my patience had built something undeniable. I remembered the tenants' faces like Daxi and Crow, who had seen Marcus trying to interfere. They trusted me, and I had protected them. That trust was worth more than any money. It reminded me why I kept going even when my family tried to stop me. The sun shone on the freshly painted walls of the fourplex. I could feel the warmth, the same way I felt when I first made a plan to rely on myself. The properties were not just buildings, they were symbols of my hard work, focus, and independence. I had turned every setback into strength. I had taken every moment of doubt and built a life stronger than anyone could have imagined. I looked at the ghost ledger one last time. Every number, every calculation, every note reminded me of the journey. The ledger was more than just numbers. It was a record of survival, patience, and perseverance. I had invested in myself, and the investment had paid off in full. No one in my family could undo what I had built. The 6 original properties were strong, rented, and profitable. The 2 new properties were my additions, my growth. I had done all of this without their help. I had done it with my own hands, mind, and heart. I remembered sitting at my father's living room, hearing those words that had hurt so much. "You're going to fail, and we can't bail you out." But failure never came. Every setback became a lesson. Every insult became fuel. Every doubt from others became proof that I could rise higher than anyone expected. I had learned that trust is earned, not given. And I had trusted myself every single step of the way. I had learned that real family is not always the people who share your last name. It is the people who support and respect you, who believe in you even when the world doubts you. As I walked through each property, I felt a deep sense of peace. I had survived. I had built. I had grown. I had created something that could not be taken away. And I had done it all on my own terms, without seeking approval from anyone who had tried to hold me back. The 6 fortresses, the 2 new buildings, the tenants who trusted me, the ghost ledger, everything was proof. Proof that resilience, hard work, and belief in oneself can overcome even the most determined opposition. My future was mine. No one could touch it. No one could sabotage it. I closed the door of the last property, feeling the finality of my journey. Every struggle, every small victory, every challenge had led to this moment. The account was closed, the balance zero, and I was free. I finally understood that success was not about revenge or proving others wrong. It was about surviving, thriving, and creating a life where no one else could control my fate. I had done that, and now my future begins bright, strong, and entirely mine.